Safe to say, looking for work can be really stressful, and it can sometimes feel like a very solitary process. So if you're an English speaker living in the Eastern Townships and you need help finding employment or figuring out a possible career change, or even determining what type of training you need to move ahead, well, you're going to find today's episode really interesting. Hi there, my name's Ed Humphrey, and welcome to a new episode of About Townshippers. Here's a concept. I get the chance to sit down with some really dynamic and interesting individuals that work for organizations that serve and support English-speaking communities throughout the beautiful Eastern Townships of Quebec. And then I get to share those chats with you. So it's a great way for you to learn more about the organizations you already know while discovering new ones. Now, only 6 months ago here in the province of Quebec, many industry sectors were struggling to find enough workers. But now with this pandemic, things have kind of changed, and it's been a bit of a challenge for everyone. And in certain sectors of the job market, the numbers of job seekers has increased considerably. So the competition is a bit more stiff right now. And knowing how to prepare for the job search or your career change and having someone to guide you through that important process can make a real difference in your success. So with that in mind, I recently sat down with Jessica Girard, who is a guidance counselor at Joblinks Employment Center right here in Sherbrooke. So let's jump into the chat. Well, good afternoon, Jessica.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for accepting the invitation. Hey, Jessica, since about 1995, Joblinks has been offering a whole variety of employment services to the English-speaking communities of the Eastern Townships. And given that we're in the middle of a pandemic, I assume that your services are going to be more and more in need, as the weeks go by. But could you explain to me a bit the nature of these services? What do you guys offer?
So we offer a variety of services to the Anglophone community of the Eastern Townships. And our services vary from help with the CV, from like building the CV, to guidance counseling, to assisting students that might be having difficulties at school. So it varies. It varies according to the client's needs.
Okay. Now you had mentioned students, so that kind of leads me to a query about your clientele. What kind of clientele do you guys have come through your doors?
So our clientele is 18 and above, residing in the Eastern Townships, Anglophones, and we can have students. So sometimes we have students that are financed by Service Quebec to go to school, so we can offer a support for them. But we also have some part-time workers, some part-time students that are not necessarily financed by Service Quebec to come to school. So it does vary. We have some immigrants that might have a preference for the English language. So we have that clientele, and then the Anglophones that are from the Eastern Townships as well. So
okay.
Nice variety.
A good variety. Now I've used it. I haven't used your services, but throughout my career, I've used quite a few different employment services. Everything from learning how to do a resume to changing jobs and changing careers. And in fact, changing careers, is that something that you guys you can offer as a service, helping someone try to decide how they go about changing careers?
Yeah. So myself as a guidance counselor, I do guidance counseling. And sometimes it's, someone that's been working in a field for so many years, and he's realizing that might not be the path for him anymore. So I can accompany this person through self-exploration and then help him build an action plan to increase the success rate of his increase the success rate of his goal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Because it can be a very isolating activity. We can have a tendency to think that we have to do it all on our own, at our computer, and it can be kind of a solitary thing. And it's good to know that there's services out there where we can break that solitude and get some help.
Yeah, exactly. And what's nice about Joblinks is that we travel, or I travel So I see clients in Asbestos, Windsor, Quebec, Stansted, Magog. We stretch out to East Angus as well. So we're able to really go out there directly to the clients and help them with guidance counseling. But as I said before, job search, CV help.
I can see the benefits of you being able to move around, because being in a large rural area like this, transportation can be a challenge.
Yeah.
And that actually leads me into my next, question. What do you see as being, one or some of the biggest challenges facing the employment market in the townships? Or what are you facing as far as challenges?
So we've noticed that people have had issues with transportation. Of course, when you live out in rural areas, you don't always have that chance to take public transportation or employment too. Some smaller towns might not have as much employment opportunities as some bigger towns like Sherbrooke. French, so that barrier language is there as well. So people that do not need necessarily to communicate on a regular basis in French might not have that opportunity to work on their French and to improve their French. Okay. So that also acts as a barrier. Those are just some of them, but yeah, so those are some of the barriers that our clients face on a regular basis.
Do you see that people are really want to stay in the townships, or are they trying to find ways to stay in, or they really want to head out to get more work? What do you see?
So it depends. So I've noticed some people have transitioned to or moved to bigger cities, but I think some people they live in their towns. Their families are in their towns. They grew up in their towns and they're comfortable and happy there. So, and I understand that. I understand that 100%.
Well, I guess that's one of the reasons you guys exist, right? Is to help people find employment and better their careers in the townships, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Now, we mentioned when we started out, we talked a bit about the pandemic, which is affecting everybody. Yeah. And what's really weird is that before the pandemic, there were way more jobs in certain sectors. If I understand correctly, there were way more jobs than there were employees. And I think that situation has kind of been flipped on its head a bit, where there's a lot of employees now looking for work and perhaps less jobs. So I'm not sure if that's exactly the case, but how has Joblinks had to adapt its activities and services during the pandemic?
So basically before the pandemic, I was on the road going to meet clients on a regular basis. And then when the pandemic hit, I was at home. So I had 1 week of, traveling to meet clients, and then the next week it's working from home. So we adapted. I've had to adapt. I've had to adapt my services. The secretaries had to adapt the way she was working, the counselor, the social work technician as well. And that meant continuous training with my order. That meant meeting clients on the phone, communicating more by email, doing Zoom meetings, really adapting our services to better serve our clients in that particular situation.
Are these new practices or things you guys are going to continue doing?
Yes, I feel like for some people, the alternative ways of meeting have worked well. So there might be ways. These might be ways that we're gonna continue using. And what I've noticed with some clients is that there is that fear that kind of stayed even after the confinement. So people are worried, especially if they're taking care of elderly parents, for example, or grandparents. They're afraid to bring back a virus at home and then infect these people. So some people, I have a feeling, will be more comfortable with Zoom meetings or telephone meetings.
Okay.
So those ways of working might stick for after. All depending on what happens, right? It's hard to tell.
It's really hard to tell, isn't it? And have you, as far as the employment possibilities, have you noticed any changes over the last couple of weeks or couple months? Is there new types of jobs that are being posted that you wouldn't have seen before the pandemic, or anything at all that you've noticed?
Well, what I've noticed and what I've what we've all heard was that the unemployment rate has dropped a bit since April. April was a huge hit for us, but the unemployment rate has dropped a bit, and jobs have gone up. So like construction, manufacturing, retail, all of that they've seen quite a rise with the deconfinement. So those are some of the trends that that we've seen, I think, in the news, but also when looking at job search sites, for example.
Okay. I wanted to, if I may, I wanted to jump back to something we talked about a couple of minutes ago, and it was the age group that you guys work with. You said 18 and above.
Mm-hmm.
What would this? So that means you could get someone that's in university or leaving university or just going to university or just graduated, or you could get someone that is a mother or father of a family and they're working and changing jobs. But what's the standard age that you guys work with? I know you're open to from 18 above, but do you have an average?
Not really. It really depends. I've had a client at 18, 19. And I've had a client, I believe, even like at 63. So really, it varies. But our clients are either Canadian citizens, permanent residents, individuals with open work permits. They can be part-time students, part-time workers. We don't necessarily accept full-time students unless they're paid by Service Quebec to come to school.
Okay. And where are you guys situated?
So we're situated at 2365 Galt West in Sherbrooke at the New Horizons Adult Education Center. But we do travel a little bit across quite a bit actually across the Eastern Townships to meet clients. But yes, our main office is situated in Sherbrooke.
So you guys have a physical location, but it's safe to assume that right now you would prefer people contact you probably electronically or by phone before knocking on the door?
Yeah, so they can contact us by phone.
And what's the phone number, Jessica?
It's 819-566-2422. And if they wish to speak to the secretary directly, they just have to dial 0. And
is there an email that we could use?
Yes. So the email address is Joblinks altogether at etsb.qc.ca.
.ca. Okay. And social media, do you guys fairly active on?
Clients can, or clients or non-clients can also reach us on Facebook just by searching for Joblinks.
Okay. Oh, great.
So yes, there's different ways of getting a hold of us, but it is preferable for clients to contact us prior so we can provide them with an appointment with either Melissa Crook, the employment counselor, or myself.
Great. So a small but effective team.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Jessica Girard, you are a guidance counselor at the Joblinks Employment Center. Mm-hmm. And as we usually do, we'll put up all the information so people can contact you guys. And as I mentioned a bit earlier, I'm sure you guys are going to be really busy in the coming months. This pandemic has had such wide-reaching effects that I think it's going to be affecting a lot of people.
Yes.
So, well, thanks for taking the time to speak with me today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
You take care.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Joblinks Employment Center is a great resource if you're new to the job market, if you're thinking about changing careers, or even if you're perhaps having difficulties at school. Now, to find out how they can help you, well, give them a call. It's 819-566-2422. And you can also contact them by email, joblinks@etsb.qc.ca. And you can find them on Facebook as well. My name is Ed Humphrey. Thank you very much for spending a bit of your time with us today. And keep your eyes open for the next episode of About Townshippers. Take care.